Hi there, this is Professor Stewart. Welcome to English 1220 Introduction to Poetry, the final research paper, part 1. Today we will be looking at the guidelines for this final research paper, which is worth 25% of your grade, and then we'll be jumping into Blackboard to take a look at the steps to get you there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. For this final research paper, you are going to choose a poet from any time period and look at 8 short poems or 4 long poems by that author to develop a paper explaining what is that poet's style, right? So what is the quality of a Chaucer poem that makes it a Chaucer poem? What is the quality of a Franny Choi poem that makes it easily recognizable as such? And so a short poem I would consider a page or less. You're going to be looking at the form and content just like in your response papers. If you have any interest in researching a poet connected with your cultural heritage, that's something you can, maybe someone you have in mind already or something you could easily find. This paper will be a 5-page minimum. More is usually better as long as it's more analysis and not biography. Again, this is not a biography paper. This is a poetry analysis paper. So your biographical information should be limited to a paragraph. Make sure that you have a thesis sentence at the end of your introduction. This tells your reader exactly what's going to be included. You're going to want to include in that sentence the author's name, the poems that you're going to be looking at, and what element you're going to be focusing on. It could be the tone of the poems. It could be the poet's philosophical outlook on the world, the joyful quality of the poems of Mary Oliver in these poems, or the sarcastic quality of these Billy Collins poems. And so that will be one of your initial challenges, is choosing that poet and then coming up with a nice focused thesis sentence that keeps us on our path. Make sure that you include specifics from the poem. You really need to make sure that you have 6 to 8 specific lines from your poem, including the line numbers at the end of each quotation, and then break it down. Don't just put them in there, but tell your reader this is why this line is so important to the poem and to understanding the poet. The primary difference we have here is between this and our response papers is we need 4 outside sources. So this can include CCRI databases, YouTube videos, it could be a documentary, it could be some other internet source. I have some different ideas coming up in the annotated bibliography assignment. Make sure that this is all your own work. This is something, I don't need it to look like a student graduate project. I just want, wherever you're at, whatever you learn in this class, use that and write from your that place. If you feel you've learned a little bit, if you feel that you have some newfound knowledge, then use it and show me the best work that you can do. If there is a plagiarism issue, you will receive an F for this assignment, and you will not be given a chance to rewrite. So this is 25% of your total grade. So take responsibility and ownership for that. The MLA citation will be a fair portion of your grade, and you're going to be expected to understand it, to do some work on it. That's part of what we'll be looking at in the annotated bibliography assignment, which is the works cited element. And so we have some resources in Blackboard you can take a look at. You always need to cite. Again, you're going to have different types of citations, which we'll see in the sample paper. You have a citation from the poem itself, which is the primary source, and then you have citations from The articles you're reading, from the videos you're watching, those are secondary sources. In those, you're going to need to tell me who is the author and what are the page numbers that you got that information from. But we'll see some information coming up. Just like in the response papers, you have these three elements: the historical, the aesthetic, and the philosophical. So make sure that you hit on all those points. As I said, the historical piece should be dealt with in the first couple paragraphs. You'll see in the sample paper we're going to have a general overview introduction, ending with a thesis sentence, and then you'll have maybe your biography paragraph, and then moving right on to the poems. The philosophical part could be, again, that tone of the poet's outlook, and how a poem shapes the world in words to the poet's will. So how is the poet sort of reshaping the world in a positive way, in a sarcastic way, in a humorous way, in a serious way, and that's sort of what you'll be doing. So that is roughly the final research paper, which is at least 5 pages focused on several poems by a single poet. Okay, next up, what I would like to do is jump over to Blackboard and take a look at what the steps will be. And then we'll come back and we'll get more into it. But I want to run through all the steps here. And so you can take a look here and see your first work is going to be to watching these screencasts is step 1. And next you're going to do that hunting around and find a poet that you're interested in. The poet could be located in some of these resources. The poet could be in the suggested poets link here. I'll show you. This is just a short list of some wonderful poets, all coming from all different backgrounds and all different experiences. And so your best bet would be find a poet with an experience that you share or you're interested in. If you have any difficulty, you could always send me out an email. But any of these poets would have plenty of information and plenty of poems to look at. And so all of these, we have Oprah's list. Click on that. That's actually a really good list, pretty contemporary. But you're welcome to just hunt around. There's Franny Choi's most recent book, Rachel McKibben's, good stuff. And so look through these. Again, Academy of Poets and Poetry Foundation should look familiar. And so that is going to be your first task. Task number 2 is going to be to work on that research piece. Now you have your poet, you've looked at, again, I'll ask you in this, when you do choose your poet, you're going to upload it to the Collaborate button, and you're going to submit the poet and at least 3 poems that you're thinking of. You could change those or add to them, but I want you just looking at some possibilities. The Collaborate button, you're going to come in there and go right to the final paper proposal and create blog entry and go that route. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do. Next, you're going to jump into the research. Okay, and so for your research, you are going to share a Google Doc of your annotated bibliography with my Gmail, and that is really the next step. Throughout this process, you're welcome to jump ahead. All the folders are open. You can do this at your own pace. If you want to get ahead, you're welcome to do that. Next up, let's take a look at that annotated bibliography assignment. Okay, so an annotated bibliography is a way for you to really dig into your resources so you know what you're dealing with. If you get started staring at a blank screen and you have four 10-page articles sitting next to you, it's not going to get you too far. You need to read those articles, dig into them, mark them up, find the main ideas in that information. Here are some links for you. Kanopy is a free streaming service. You'll find a good number of documentaries in there. Modern American Poetry is a great link of critical work on modern poems written after 1950. and the literature databases. But you're welcome to look elsewhere. So, what is this assignment? This assignment, you will be giving me 4 of these. This is an annotation. It includes a works cited, and it includes the annotation. The annotation has 3 parts. You're going to summarize in 4 to 6 sentences what was that article about, what was that video about, what was that documentary about. Then you're, in a sentence or 2, assess that source. It could be this, you could say this YouTuber really was critical of the poet and giving them a hard time, or fawned over the poet and seemed to really like the poet. And in this one, how did this source help your paper? Did it support something you already believed, or did it change your idea on the poet a little bit? So again, this annotation needs to be 6 to 8 sentences, and the works cited entry, get it done at this stage, and then when you get to the paper, you're just going to copy and paste your works cited right in, and it's all set, okay? This is going to be something we'll look at in a minute as well. And so this step is going to be your annotated bibliography assignment. After that, you have your rough draft. Okay, so the rough draft is going to be your bullet points. It could be an introduction and a couple body paragraphs. The more you get me, the more I can help you. And so you may want to try to include some research in this step so that I can take a look at your MLA format. Because as I said, MLA, part of what English teachers teach is proper format. You'll be using it throughout your education. And so you will need to have a good handle on that. And so this is the rough draft is the next step. The final step is going to be the paper itself. Okay, and so once I've shared back your rough draft with comments, you're going to develop those ideas into your final draft. Now, we're just about out of time here, so I am going to end part 1 here, and I will see you in just a minute as we jump into part 2.